From the Skyterra Wellness Retreat, this is the Inspired Intentions Podcast, where we help people build the skills and mindset to live a healthy life. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been enjoying our podcast, take a moment to rate and review. It may seem like a small thing, but our ratings and reviews make a huge difference in the quality of our show. They help us reach more listeners like you so we can continue bringing you more amazing content. So, if you've found inspiration, learned something new, or just love tuning in every week, please rate the Inspired Intentions Podcast 5 stars and leave us a review and even share with a friend. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Now let's get into the show. Sup, listeners?
Hi, guys.
We're laughing because I said sup because that's actually our topic today. And the voice that you hear here in the booth with me is none other than our reservations specialist, April. And I am so excited to have April here on the podcast with us today. April is an awesome reservations specialist. You probably, if you've been to Skyterra, may have heard her on the phone. Her voice may sound familiar to you, but she is also an expert at a lot of things that you may have never known about. And stand-up paddleboarding, or SUP, is one of those things. Thanks for coming on the podcast, April.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Yeah.
So excited.
To be honest, everyone, we threw this on April yesterday, and she so willingly said, you know what? I've never done a podcast before, but I will do this. Absolutely.
I'm here, ready for it.
Oh, I appreciate it a lot. You were, I've heard nothing but good things from our guests about them being able to go out and do stand-up paddleboarding with you. I've had a lot of questions lately about this particular water sport, and I'd love to just have a conversation about it today.
Awesome.
Sound good?
It is my favorite sport, so excited to talk about it.
Oh, I didn't know it was your favorite.
Definitely my favorite.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's so diverse. Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that. So, April, I want to start with just a little bit about you and your history with water sports in general. I think we had worked together for quite a while before I ever knew that you had done this kind of thing for a long time, right?
That's right. Yeah. I've been in the outdoor industry for probably about 15 years. I kind of started my journey being a whitewater rafting guide, actually here in Western North Carolina on the Nantahala River. And then that took me out to Colorado, and I spent 10 years out there, and that's where I got into stand-up paddleboarding.
Okay.
So was a whitewater rafting guide. I also did reservations for many rafting companies.
Okay.
So this has been in my journey all along, what I do here for Skyterra.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then I also got my stand-up paddleboard certification out there. So that was in 2015. So it's been about 10 years that I've been doing that.
Awesome. And when you say whitewater rafting guiding, you're talking about like the, 8-person team. You're on the back of the boat with the paddle, and you're leading people through class 3s, 4s?
Class 3s and 4s.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I definitely, started on class 3, pretty mild rivers, really fun, family friendly. And then as the years went on, just kind of worked my way up and progressed into guiding some really beautiful sections river, but up into pretty adventurous class 4.
Yeah, to say the least. Very adventurous. I love whitewater, so it's that's one of those things that during the summer it's a great time.
It is.
Yeah. And when did you first learn about stand-up when you were out there? Was it like you saw somebody doing it, or?
Yes. I did see somebody doing it. I was actually attempting to learn how to whitewater kayak.
Oh, okay.
So I worked at a company that did whitewater rafting. They taught whitewater kayaking, and I was working with a lot of individuals that were whitewater kayakers, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn it.
Okay.
And I was very intimidated by learning a new sport in front of peers that already knew the sport.
Sure.
It was taking a lot of time trying to figure it out, and I saw somebody coming down the river on a stand-up paddleboard. They went through a rapid, and they just fell off, and they got right back on. There was no pull it to the side, have to self-rescue, empty your boat out of water. And I was like, oh, that looks more doable. And so it kind of took the fear out of swimming in whitewater out of the picture for me, because when you stand up paddleboard down a whitewater river, you swim a lot. So that's how I started, was not on lakes or in the ocean. It was on whitewater rivers.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've never tried to stand up paddleboard nor whitewater kayak in anything over like a 2. I can't imagine taking a paddleboard down a 3.
Yes. I would say 2 is my comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's adventurous. It pushes you as far as your balance and your physical ability. 3 can be really fun. And I have a lot of really great friends and peers that will paddle class 3 and class 4 on whitewater boards. I am kind of that middle ground.
Class 4s, how do they even stay on? They have to have insane balance.
They really do. Lots of practice.
Yeah.
The more you do it, like lots of practice. But you can look it up on YouTube, but there's people that are running waterfalls on stand-up paddleboards.
I've seen the videos of it. It's nuts looking, but I've never seen it in person. I can't imagine.
It's wild. But I loved the pushing myself, the adventureness of class 2, maybe some low class 3s was really fun and pushed my ability, definitely pushing me out of my comfort zone. But class 1, really fun, challenging, worked on that balance. But it's also a great sport just to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for listeners that don't know what a paddleboard is, stand-up paddleboarding, can you describe the equipment to them and like just generally what it is?
Sure. So it's different than surfing, where you're standing up, you're not going from up to down and up to down riding waves. If you are in a situation where there's moving current, you're usually paddling through those waves. Most people are using stand-up paddleboards on lakes, maybe out on the ocean, kind of past the surf, or on very slow-moving rivers where you are standing up and balancing and you're using a paddle.
Gotcha.
Usually surfing, you're not using a paddle. And your boards kind of vary a little bit. They look a lot like a surfboard, but they vary in lengths. You can have probably up to about 11-foot paddleboard down to like an 8-foot paddleboard. The smaller paddleboard you have, the more maneuverable it's going to be.
Sure.
The longer paddleboard you have, the faster and the straighter it's going to go. So,
is there a difference in like saltwater paddleboards and freshwater like there is kayaks? Because I know there's like ocean kayaks. Those are significantly longer, the same kind of idea. Your like whitewater boats are really short. Is that the same kind of principle for paddleboards?
Yes. In the sense, I wouldn't say saltwater to just like flat freshwater would be very different. Those are going to be pretty similar as far as your paddleboard goes. But when you go from like moving water to flat water, those are going to be drastically different. On moving water, most of the time you're going to have an inflatable board, so it can take impacts of rocks or obstacles and not break. If you have a hard foam board, that's going to be much more fragile, so that's great for flat water. And then the shorter board that you have is going to be able to move, so be able to move around rocks, through waves, make sure you're teeing up to any waves that you're going to hit, things like that. Versus if you're on a lake, you're on flat water, even salt water, you want a longer board, very straight, so you can just cruise and go faster.
Gotcha. How long are the paddles?
So the paddles are usually, if you put your arm up in the air, usually going to come right to the bottom of your wrist is what you want your paddle length to be.
Gotcha.
So just varies by person.
And I don't want to skim over the part where you said there's an inflatable version of this, because to me, one thing that can be, I don't know if intimidating is the right word, but tough is that not everybody has a way to transport an 11-foot board, 12-foot board, and or to just store a big board like that. But they make inflatable versions that are a lot more maneuverable.
They do.
Yeah.
And they make inflatable versions that are specifically built for lakes. They are not built for whitewater.
Okay.
But they store really easily, and they blow up to a very high PSI. So if you were to get on it, you can't tell that it's inflatable.
Yeah.
It's as rigid and sturdy as a hardboard.
Yeah, it's like I have a whitewater raft, and the floor of it inflates rock solid. You know, you can stand up on it if you wanted to. I'm assuming it's the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even more so than that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So anything else about the equipment that people should know about?
Most stand-up paddleboards are going to have a fin on them.
Oh, okay.
That's something that most people don't realize, but that fin's going to be in the back of your board, and really that's going to help you go straight. if you've ever been in a kayak or a canoe, when you paddle on one side, every time you paddle, it moves your board one side to the other. The same thing, you have a fin in the back to kind of help you go straight. Some boards are going to have removable fins.
Yeah.
Some boards have retractable fins that simply go up
I've
into
seen
the board.
those, yeah.
And then some have a fixed fin.
The retractable ones are for shallow water, right? Like rocks, they kind of kick up so that, gotcha.
Yeah, which is very handy. If you are stand-up paddleboarding and you're going forward and all of a sudden your fin hits like a log or a rock or sand that's in the river or the lake, usually your body's going to keep moving and your board's going to stop. So having a retractable fin is kind of nice if you're dealing with obstacles regularly.
Yeah, understood. So you got a paddle, you've got your board, whether it be whatever length or inflatable or hard or whatever. Always highly recommend a life jacket. Anybody that does any water sports stuff, doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are, I always suggest a life jacket.
Absolutely.
Other than those things, anything else you need to do this?
The other optional thing would be a leash.
Okay. What's that used for?
So the leash is essentially usually it attaches either to your life jacket or to your ankle, kind of like a surfboard leash could.
Okay.
And that is really, if you fall off of your board, that's going to keep your board right next to you.
Gotcha.
So highly recommended if you are ever solo paddling or if you're paddling on a lake that has a lot of boat traffic where you're going to deal with either wind or waves coming from the boats, wanting to have that. That way, if you do get separated from your board, it stays right next to you.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so not a lot of equipment. I mean, I'm sure paddleboards can be expensive or as cheap as you want them to be, but not a lot of stuff. It's not like fly fishing. We have so much gear.
Right. Yes. I think like any sport, you can get to that level where you can get all the gadgets that you need. I mean, they have chairs that attach to your stand-up paddleboards now.
Cool.
They have drink holders that attach. They have fishing pole holders that attach to your paddleboards. But it can be simple. Go out with your life jacket, your paddleboard, your paddle, and ready to go.
That's it. Okay. So why? Why does somebody want to stand up paddleboard?
So many reasons.
She's got a big smile on her face, everyone.
So I really love stand-up paddleboarding the most is because it's a choose-your-own-adventure sport. You can really have as much fun and push yourself physically as you can really relax and use it as kind of like a healthy coping strategy and a mindfulness piece.
Okay.
So I think a lot of guests, when they think about stand-up paddleboarding, right off the bat, it's, balance and movement and strength. That's the first thing that comes to mind. There are other guests that would be simply fun. I just want to do something fun, be active, be outside. And then definitely that rest piece where you can utilize that as a healthy coping strategy, being outside, and it can be very peaceful and relaxing.
Let's talk about that balance and strength piece a little bit.
Sure. So you are on a board in the middle of water. It moves underneath you. You are using a lot of micro muscles in your feet specifically. I feel like most guests really notice it in their feet first more than anything. And then in your core, just simply balancing. So even if you're not even paddling very hard and you're just out there standing, you're going to be using a lot of those muscles. So that balance and strength piece is going to be working.
Yeah, I took a guest out one time, and after his first session on the paddleboard, he said he was more sore than some of the workout classes that he had done just because he hadn't worked on balance in a while, and that really pushed him with balance specifically. And he had felt it in his feet, just like he said, and his core, and a little bit in his quads and hamstrings as well. He was really, really stoked about it because he was able to stand. It was a challenge, but he could do it.
Yeah, I think most guests experience that, or paddlers in general. I always tell people when they're talking about, my feet hurt. Why do my feet hurt? My feet hurt every year for the first couple of paddles.
Okay.
Just those tiny little muscles that we have in our feet are just constantly working the entire time you're on a board to balance.
What are some tips you have for folks when they're trying to stay balanced on a board? Is it not lean too far forward? Like what are some of the pointers that you give folks?
Yeah, so my very first thing is you do not have to stand up.
Okay.
You can do this kneeling, you can do it sitting.
Yeah.
You can paddle it either way. So usually starting on your knees is a great way to start and then kind of get yourself to the point where you are standing up. But when you're standing up, loose knees is probably one of the first things. And then making sure that your feet are even side to side. So looking down at your board and where you're standing and making sure you have the same amount of space on either side of your foot. If you're a little bit more to the right or a little bit more to the left, you're going to notice that your board is actually edging. And that's going to make a huge difference in your balance. And when you're paddling, if your board will turn different ways based on that. So making sure that you're centered, your knees are loose, and you're comfortable, and you're really going to be standing straight up. You don't need to lean really forward or back.
Gotcha. When you say edging, I'm assuming you're meaning that the edge of your board is almost tipping underwater on the side that you're a little bit wider on.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So people can find that to be a challenge, but they can do whatever. There's nothing that says they have to stand on a stand-up paddleboard.
Correct.
It's not in the fine print of like the waivers or anything.
It is not. No.
Nice.
Very versatile.
Yeah.
You can use them for lots of things.
Yeah. What are some of the things that people use them for?
So I think exercise is a big one that we kind of talked about. They use it for paddling. They can race with it. You can use it as a core workout, just simply paddling, really focusing on engaging your core as you're taking those strokes. And then yoga. People will do yoga on the stand-up paddleboard. Whole different ballgame. If you're doing yoga, you have a great practice and you want to step up your game, try doing it on a stand-up paddleboard.
That sounds insane.
Yeah, whole bunch of different muscles that you can utilize. And then, sometimes I even think about just simply like the act of blowing up your board if you have an inflatable, loading and unloading it, and simply carrying it to your location, to the water, can even add in that more workout. Guests regularly are like, oh, this is my workout for the day, I guess. Just carrying it to the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can there's like a strength aspect built into this whole thing.
There is.
Yeah. But I like the idea of doing some mindfulness things on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another great use for it. It can be as adventurous as you want or really as peaceful and relaxing. Being outside, I think we all know this or come to learn it at some point in our lives, that when you're outside in nature, it is good for our mental wellness.
Mm-hmm.
So being outside, doing something fun, using that paddleboard is just a very peaceful exercise, can be a good, healthy coping strategy. You can lay on it in the water. There's nothing that says you even have to paddle it. So you can simply get out into the middle of the lake and lay down. I know people that will use it for breath work. So using it as another, another opportunity to be outside, be mindful and present, and do some breath work while they're standing or sitting or laying on a paddleboard.
And I'm sure that people that do yoga on it also consider that to be a little bit of that mindfulness as well.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever tried yoga on a paddleboard?
I have.
Are you anchoring it in place?
Not usually.
Not usually. So it's just still drifting and you're trying to balance and do all the poses.
Yes. You would want to do it in a very, I would say, secure setting.
Sure.
Where you wouldn't want to do it on moving water, but on a lake where you know that there's not boats coming, not waves happening. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Man, I'm trying to think of some poses that would be like, even just doing like a tree pose would be tough.
A tree pose is very tough. Yeah. Downward dog can be like a good one that you can utilize. Oh, I'm blanking on my yoga poses.
Yeah, me too. We need one of our yoga instructors in here for that. But
definitely. I didn't make my little list, but the first time I tried yoga, on a paddleboard was actually the first time I tried yoga. I had not I had not ever done yoga before, and I had a friend that was a yoga instructor and
Oh, wow.
was like, "Hey, can we take your paddleboard out? I'm really interested in seeing what this is like." And she led me and a few friends in a session on the paddleboard so she can get a good idea. And
Mm-hmm.
it was great. It was doable, hard, for sure. Some of us fell off.
Yeah.
But you're really using those muscles, not just the muscles that you would use in a yoga pose, but also using your balancing and just awareness of your surroundings.
Sounds tough. I love that that's the first time you tried yoga was probably one of the hardest ways to try it.
Me too. Every other time has been a little bit more of a controlled setting.
Mm-hmm. So you recently got to take some of our guests out paddleboarding.
I did.
What was that? A couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple days.
How was that?
It was great. I think every time I take guests out on paddleboarding, it's a different experience every single time. Everybody has different ideas. They're at different levels kind of in their journey with paddleboarding. A lot have never done it. And then we do have some guests that have done it here and there. This week was very special because I had guests that were all in a very different part of their journey. I had one guest who was a stand-up paddleboard. She probably did it once a week, if not more, on her home river. And so she really wanted to take this class and get outside to get some very specific technical instruction on her technique, on her paddle strokes, her maneuverability, and her form. So we really got to work a little bit on those very technical things.
Cool.
Just to kind of help her in the sport kind of advance to the next level. She even had some really fun questions about what's the correct way to hold a paddle. The internet says all these different things. Me and my friends are always debating which way we hold the paddle, and I was able to give her some really great feedback about that. And then a lot of guests that I have come have never been on a paddleboard before, and this is something that is really pushing them outside of their comfort zone.
Sure.
And what I notice with guests in this situation is, well, first, they signed up for it. So they're already pushing themselves outside of their comfort zone by being willing to try something new. But it is a very controlled setting. It's a small group. It's on a private lake, which is really great. And we can go as slow as we need to. And usually that means that we're not standing up right away. We're doing it. We're getting on the board, pushing off from shore on our knees, and then slowly working up to the point where we're going to practice standing up in the lake. And what guests get out of this most of the time is they usually can stand up and are really surprised how much more balance they have on the board than they thought they would have.
Sure.
And I think one of the first things, if you've never tried stand-up paddleboarding and you're going to go try it, the first thing I tell people when they are either on their knees or they're standing up is once you make sure that you're even from side to side and front to back, put some slight pressure from one side of your body to the other side. So you are intentionally edging your board on one side or the other. And this will really allow you to see how much balance and control you have over the board. I think a lot of people get very rigid. They feel like the board is moving underneath them. They don't know what to do. They're thinking, it's my balance, it's my balance. And once you feel that you can move the board intentionally side to side, and that you're standing up, you realize how much more control and how stable the board can be.
Right.
Yeah. And so I had a guest that was very much in that situation, and we worked through it. We went from pushing off on our knees to standing up and paddling around, getting loose, getting comfortable on the board. Nice. And then from there, being able to sit down on the board, get back up, be able to lay down on the board, not even sure that they could sit back up on their own, and then was able to sit back up and stand up on the board all on their own without falling in the water. And just seeing the excitement and the joy and the confidence that came out of doing something new in just this really kind of controlled, safe setting really allows you the opportunity when this presents itself to you again. A friend asks you to go stand up paddleboarding, or you're out on vacation and there's a tour. Normally you'd be like, no, I can't do that. Maybe now you'd be like, actually, I'm ready for that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other guest that I had on this specific trip that we had this last week was really great. I noticed that they were kind of off on their own most of the time, which is fine. It's a very, controlled setting. I'm kind of keeping eyes on all of the guests, making sure everybody is kind of getting what they need out of the day.
Sure.
But they were kind of off on their own, and I noticed that they weren't standing up. They were kneeling, they were sitting down, and I even saw them laying down on the board. And so paddled up and was like, hey, how's it going? Do you want to try standing up? Assuming that this person maybe can't stand up or hasn't tried or is a little nervous about standing up. And just kind of smiled and laughed and said, well, I can try standing up for sure, but this isn't what I'm looking for today. I am really here at Skyterra to help manage my stress, practice some healthy coping strategies, and lower my cortisol levels. And all I really want to do is just enjoy nature. And they spent the entire time on the lake paddling around, just so chill and relaxed, laying, just kind of taking it all in. And that was really special for me to kind of see kind of all the aspects that you can use stand-up paddleboarding for, all in one 2-hour session.
One lake. Yeah.
Yes, one lake, all there. Yeah.
That's really cool.
It was very cool. One of the best experiences I've had.
Sounds super fulfilling for you to be able to instruct that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Being a reservationist specialist is very fulfilling in general. I talk to a lot of our guests. I really get to talk about where they're coming from, how we can meet their needs. But being able to go out on the lake, be outside and interact with our guests and kind of hear about their experience at Skyterra. And then also for my own mental health, getting away from my desk, being outside, taking in the sunshine, and just, I think it fills my cup for sure. Yeah.
It's all good stuff.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we haven't really talked about is the really fun piece of stand-up paddleboarding, which kind of goes into our play, right?
Okay.
And the one thing that I like to talk about a little bit is it's fun, right?
Yeah.
But it's also the community piece can be really cool. So this is something that you can do with your loved ones, your friends. It's a way you can meet new people joining a stand-up paddleboarding group. And I think just being able to be outside and doing something fun with friends or peers, community, is really special and really powerful.
I totally agree. It definitely doesn't have to be an independent sport, I think that's sweet.
Yeah. You can even take your dog stand-up paddleboarding.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's not just for people. So have seen plenty of dogs. I have recently taken my puppy on the stand-up paddleboard. It went really well. Doesn't always go that well.
I was going to say jumping off all the things, but...
Yes.
Yeah.
I did pretty well. Did have one jump off and experience what it was like swimming. Yeah.
I have an interesting question for you, one we didn't prepare for. I just thought of it, though. Do you find that people are afraid of the falling off part and that prevents them from maybe ever doing it or prevents them from trying to stand up or anything like that? Or have you found a good way to get over that hurdle with folks? Because in the past when I've instructed some, that's what I've found. They want to try and stand up, but they won't because they're worried about falling in.
Yes. I have had a lot of guests in very similar situations, and I never push. If that is kind of how they're feeling, definitely, okay, no big deal. You don't have to stand up on a stand-up paddleboard. You can have just as much fun kneeling or sitting. But one of the first things that I do kind of depends on the day, how much I'm feeling like getting wet, but I will demo to people the correct way to fall off a stand-up paddleboard. If I'm not feeling like necessarily showing everybody how I'm going to do it, I will also just explain it to them. And kind of I don't know if you've heard this, but a fun way to kind of explain if you're going to fall. Usually you can tell. You can feel that you're really getting off balance and you're about to fall. I think a lot of people raise their arms up in the air just out of habit. If you're going to fall, you kind of raise your arms up in the air and then they fall backwards, and we call it the starfish fall. So when you do that, you tend to, your feet push your board pretty far away. And I think that's one of the things. Not only do you fall in the water, your board gets pretty far away from you if you don't have a leash on. So I always tell people, if you feel like you're getting off balance, the first thing you can do is take a paddle stroke. Taking a paddle stroke actually creates a third point of contact in the water, so it gives you a little bit more balance, gives you some momentum. The other thing, if you're like, no, I'm falling, instead of doing that starfish move, is to simply hop next to your board. You can do this even with a hand landing on your board, so your board stays right next to you, or you're landing right next to your board and you're not pushing your board far away.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times just talking to the participants about here's what it looks like if you are going to fall kind of takes some of that fear away.
Yeah.
And I did work with a guest that specifically had stand-up paddleboarded in the past, but him and none of his friends could get back on the board. And it wasn't the falling that was so fearful. It was the fear of not being able to get back onto your board. Because that also does take some strength, but more technique than anything.
There's no pretty way to do it.
Not really. There's not a pretty way, but there is a technique to it.
Yeah.
And so we pretty much spent almost the entire session at the lake intentionally falling off of our boards and getting back on. So he was and he didn't think he could do it at first, but he was very comfortable and confident after it, being like, I can't believe that I not only stood up, but I was able to fall off and get back on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think getting over that hurdle's big. I've experienced a lot of the same things, and just understanding that you're just going to get wet. You got a life jacket on, you're going to float, and you can get back on. It's a huge confidence builder.
Definitely.
April, anything that you think we need to touch on? Anything we missed about stand-up paddleboarding?
I don't think so. I just would encourage anybody, if you get the opportunity to try it. In general, trying something new, I think, is really positive and can build that confidence and kind of push yourself out of that comfort zone. But I just love stand-up paddleboarding because you can really be as fun and as relaxing as you want. You can really turn it into an adventure sport, get that workout that you're looking for.
Yeah.
It can be right in the middle. You can simply just use it in a pool. I've put my stand-up paddleboard in a pool just to like lay and float on it before. So lots of opportunities and options there.
Nice.
But yeah, really great thing to try. If you're here at Skyterra, we usually have it not every week, but a couple times, maybe a month. But during the summer months, we'll offer stand-up paddleboarding. And so great thing to kind of try and get outside.
You can call reservations, get April, and then she can convince you to come and come paddleboarding. And if
You
people
can do that.
And if people request, we can make it happen. So
True. Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, April, thanks so much for coming on and talking today, even though you just agreed to do this literally less than 24 hours ago. And thanks for your knowledge on paddleboarding. I appreciate it and what you give to the guests.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alan. This has been great. My favorite thing to talk about. So
Easy.
yeah, this has been awesome.
Good.
Thanks so much.
Listeners, if you got questions, send us an email, inspiredintentions@skyterrawellness.com. If you got paddleboard questions for April, you can email that, or you could just call reservations, like we said. But yeah, let us know. We look forward to talking to you all again. Thanks.
The Inspired Intentions podcast is a production of Skyterra Wellness Retreat. Special thanks to our executive producer, Alan Broyhill. Send us your questions and comments to inspiredintentions@skyterrawellness.com. Subscribe on iTunes and everywhere podcasts can be found. If someone you know might benefit from this podcast, share Inspired Intentions with them and give us a 5-star rating. Join us next week as we cut through the unrealistic noise on diets and fitness and show you how healthy living fits seamlessly into your already busy life. Thanks for listening.